the plan of this show and everything, and it's just what Star Wars should be, in my opinion, and what I've experienced is there will be episodes like we screened today that have somewhat of a somber ending, but you have to go through those things with the characters and as the characters to get to some type of conclusion of perhaps joy and feeling of victory. You know, what is your victory without knowing the consequences on some level, what defeat could be. So it's part of the narrative that we have these ups and downs, but I think always Star Wars represents, you know, a happy thing, a thing that exhilarates people, a thing that gives you hope, a thing that makes you feel like you can attack the day better, a thing that inspires you, inspires kids. That's always been the goal that Simon and I had with this show, is to inspire all of you guys, and especially the kids in the audience. So I'm working towards, you know, that end. It doesn't mean there won't be probably tragic things and difficult things along the way, but that's the journey of the hero and the journey of us all. So, you know, I think it'll be a good season.
That's been the fun part of playing this character, because if you look at the very first episode, he's come so far. And he's changed a lot, and it's been super cool. So season 4 is interesting because a lot of decisions are made for Ezra.
Trials of the Darksaber, I think, you know, for Sabine is like a turning point, and up until that point we had never, or she had never allowed herself to be in this vulnerable place, and certainly never allowed people that she let into her life and into her world see her in that sort of state. And so, you know, being faced with these new challenges, you know, before it was just like, let's fight the Empire, let's mess up the Empire, what do we have to do, let's do it, and let me do it in my artful, amazing way. But I had sort of Sabine had a laser focus on that, but she was also obviously hiding such pain and fragility so deep inside that she would have never allowed herself to like display, even in front of the people closest to her in her life. And so that moment, I think, is such a turning point. And it also, you know, it's a moment where she either has to be defensive and be sort of the way she's being initially with, you know, with Ezra, and trying not to allow herself to really, really dig deep and go to where she knows she needs to go. And it's like this moment, this like sort of pivotal moment where she grows up in that moment, and she knows what she has to do, and she takes control, and she faces her biggest fears, and she's willing to do it for the greater good and for the good of her families, both of her families. So yeah, Trials of the Darksaber was a moment for me and for Sabine, I think. Each time this has happened at Celebration, we've never gotten to see anything up until the point at which you are also seeing the same thing. So I think it's thrilling for me, for us. I'll go ahead
and it's cool because we're all making the same sounds. Like Bo-Katan, we all went,
oh yeah.
I mean, I was screaming in the front row. I just assumed you were too.
Yeah. Shoulder, I think.
Sorry,
No, I loved it.
Yeah, but that's really rewarding, and it makes me feel like we're family, which we are. So, yeah.
It's so weird for me because I knew it was going to happen. I saw pieces of it when I went up to see you, and yet I was still broken at the end of it. I went back to full-on fan, full absorption mode, and I was bent and broken by it, and that's what I want to feel. I want to be that invested. So it was great to experience that with all of you guys. I felt, you know, like that's an opportunity for us to just let it all go, let everything that we know about the franchise go, and just be immersed.
And also to get to watch it in that environment with the sound and the screen and all of you, and it reminds me what a cinematic experience Rebels really is. I mean, I know that when I'm watching it on my TV and sitting on my couch, but to get to see it in this capacity is like, you know, it's like a movie every time we watch, which is a testament to you and all, you know.
Yeah, bravo.
Kevin Kleiner and
absolutely.
the animators and the whole team.
It's the coolest way to watch it.
Stunning, yeah. And you're like, how did we get so lucky to get to view
No
it?
idea.
I'm glad I didn't have a
Every
bucket of
day.
popcorn because I would have just devoured the entire thing.
We're like thrown into the air.
Yeah, oh man.
Well, what is it like for you, David? Because for us, like we can remember ourselves and we're fans of it then, but I just wonder that.
I mean,
Sorry, Leah,
Taylor,
but-
I've seen it so many times, but no.
No, I'm saying with everyone
It's
there.
the greatest thing. I mean, I can't even express it. You always wonder when you're writing this stuff, like, are people gonna laugh at that moment? Is that too brutal when Chopper hits that guy in the head with a gun? Oh no, they all laughed at that. Wow, that's kind of scary. And so I learned a lot about the audience, and I wish that I had more of that, honestly. Like, it really helps as a creative to hear what people react to. You know, anytime Kanan and Hera lean in towards each other at all, the reaction is in the room. I'm like, wow, that's kinetic. And so it's kind of fun because as an artist, you want to play with those things and play with those emotions. I mean, I felt bad that, you know, in production, the only episode that we could air here was the one I had, which is that one. Season 4 is, you know, underway and we're working hard on it, but I didn't have more of a positive ending. But, you know, narratively, Sabine did a terrible thing. And we've talked about since the first season this terrible thing that you did and why you're not with your family and how you're kind of ostracized from the rest of Mandalore. Well, you're going to see the terrible thing that you did. And so what's great about our fans is that I think they get that. And they get that when we take you to that place and we'll see how everybody deals with it from there, which is coming out the other side of the darkness. But it had to be a terrible thing you did. And you know, the best you could do there is shoot it nicely, so it's beautifully terrible. And Joel and the guys, Keith, they do a great job with the animation and lighting. So, you know, I can give them anything and they can make it, even when tragic, look beautiful.
What characteristics of your characters do you hope will serve as inspiration to kids, or all of us?
For me, one of my favorite lines that Hera says, "We have hope." And there's something about that I think we all need right now. I know I do. And I draw on Hera's strength in that capacity and her faith in the face of just impossible odds. She's always hopeful. And I hope that kids carry some of that with them when they face their challenges. Yeah.
And for me, I would say that Zeb, with all his muscles, has to find a place of vulnerability and trust after seemingly losing everything and coming into the series with nothing left to lose, and then building relationships with his family. Now he's got everything to lose. And I think I hope that kids walk away from this knowing that it's okay to be vulnerable and okay to trust and okay to have hope and okay to see that there's something bigger than yourself, even in your darkest moments.
It's hard to follow up after both of those.
You're Mandalorian.
Answers.
Oh. It's all good.
Well, I was just thinking, as you guys were talking, I don't know, it's a little different now that we have seen Sabine interact with her family, her biological family, again, which we never had before, but for seasons 1, 2, and some of 3, you know, I often thought, like, I didn't know where her family was and what the situation was. I knew that maybe eventually we would get there, but I just thought, how nice. There are a lot of people out there whose families, maybe their family situations aren't ideal for whatever reasons. Maybe they've been cast out of their families for whatever reasons, and just that you can find that family bond elsewhere. It doesn't have to be, if your situation is not ideal, there's hope for you still. That, you know, this girl who was sort of on her own and bounty hunting or doing all kinds of, you know, lecherous behavior, I guess. I don't know.
Graffiti art.
Yeah, or graffiti art. I don't know we don't all know everything she was up to. Found this, like, safe space with these people who are not her blood relatives, but through their shared, you know, struggle and, you know, this shared cause, that they became a family, like the tightest family, you know, the strongest bond a family could have. So, just that there is hope out there for people that may be in similar situations. You might not be bounty hunting, but that you might be able to find that somewhere, even if it's not the people that you thought you would have that with.
Yeah, I would say with Ezra, it depends where you break it down, but I'd say his strength, really, I wish I was as strong as Ezra was when I was a kid. I feel like that's something that enables you, if you have that strength and believe in yourself the way Ezra does, you can accomplish things that otherwise seem impossible. And with the youth, empowering them, I think, is very important. And so I would say his strength. Also, to piggyback what Steve had said, the willingness to trust. And I mean, there are so many things, his independence, but I narrowed it down to Ezra's strength. I think that's very important for kids.
Thrawn in season 4 is operating from a position of victory. He, in his mind, is really set back, and he's correct, the rebel fleet with a pretty crushing blow. He's also tempered their aggressive tendency, which you see the after effects of all the way into Rogue One, where they're incredibly hesitant to actually fight on a bigger scale. It takes a lot to draw them out because they lost so big. So I think it's interesting to see the effects of Thrawn, which is what you want. You want him to be a very important character and to be a villain that's affecting everything. So he's operating from a position of having total control of Lothal now. And the rebels, in some ways, are being deconstructed. They are trying to amass all of these ships. They're trying to amass all these starfighters. And one has to start to wonder what's going to be the point of that. Are they ever going to have as much, even hardware as Thrawn to fight with, and let alone his tactical genius? The Bendu represents the Thrawn, somewhat of an enigma. He doesn't really understand it. I think he would admit as much. He doesn't really have secrets like that. But he's trying to understand it, and I think it's what drives his study of art. He's like someone that so badly wants to understand this greater thing, and he can't, for whatever reason. He delves into the art, he tactically understands it, but his, whatever connects emotionally, passionately, perhaps what makes him a good tactician seems to not be there. So it'll be interesting to see where we go with that, but he is a very difficult villain to beat. It will seemingly take a lot to do it, which I think is very fun. He's the first kind of arch villain to survive a season. Vader came and went, he's like, I'm out the door, and which is Vader, Anakin. But Thrawn is still there, and he knows they're a threat, but boy, he really kicked their butt. So we'll see how that goes.
That was a very profound time in the arc of my character, just because I felt like Kalos was a mirror for him. He got to look into the darkest places of himself that he hadn't previously been able to, and saw it in the face of his enemy, and had to really deal with that. And I reacted to that very personally, because I did that at 40 years old in my personal life, and to see that play out in a cartoon was a very profound moment for me. So thanks, Dave, for helping me heal.
No problem. I'm here, buddy.
I think Ezra realized what his calling was and is, and that he needs to go back to the place he's from and help out his people of Lothal. And I would say watching Sabine's trajectory through season 3 helped define part of who Ezra is and is becoming as well.
See, I know all of you better now over the years. You're all a very perceptive group, and I enjoy this very much. You make the dance very difficult for me, because I so desperately want to answer your questions as a fan to fan, and I appreciate it. The Force is the core of Star Wars, and you have to be careful when you answer too many questions about it. Belief in the Force itself is part of what drives it. Not everybody in the Star Wars universe believes in it, which is interesting because its actions and abilities are on display quite often. So you think, well, why doesn't everybody believe in it? what's so hard about Han Solo that he doesn't believe in the Force when the Jedi Knights weren't so long ago, as we find out in the prequels? Because it takes discipline and training and practice and commitment and faith to believe in this thing, that it gives you power, that it flows through you. It's in all of you. You all have it. Just some people, like Anakin, are more gifted. And that's great, and it's also dangerous. And I think that what we'll explore in season 4, as we get to the depth of Kanan's commitment and Ezra's commitment to the Force, is that ultimate choice. Do you become more dangerous and fall to wickedness, or do you, in the face of fear, turn to good? Fear is the root of all evil. Fear destroys everything. Fear makes you make decisions you would not make. Fear makes you think you're making good decisions and they're poor decisions because you're afraid. And if you take nothing else away from Star Wars, you should make no decision out of fear. And when the Emperor stands before you and has destroyed your father and ruined your life, and you're powerless, and he's made you hate your father almost, and you throw him down, you must remember at that critical point to say, I'm going to throw my weapon away because I love the person next to me, I love my father, I love my mother, and nothing you do can destroy that. Nothing. And you stand on your commitment, and then that inspires in Anakin the hope. That inspires the love, which is something evil does not understand. That's the core of Star Wars, and that is the power that you can't possibly imagine when you're evil, that Obi-Wan speaks of. So maybe we'll get into that, I don't know.